Illustration 47. A and Mrs. B being a member of an AOP with equal shares. Furnishing the following details. Compute tax liabilities of association of person and members. This is a balance sorry, this is a P&L account of AOP for the year ended 31st July 2023. These all of the expenses have been debited in the P&L account, and these are the incomes have been credited in the P&L account. But some expenses will not be debited or won't allowed to debited in the P&L account for the tax purpose. That is like bonus, salary, interest. That means if you say together remunerations to the members will not be debited in the P&L account. That will not be allowed to debited in the P&L account of the AOP. These are the income will be taxable in the hands of members. That's why we need to or we want to allow to debited in the P&L account. Here the expenses, some expenses have been put, and that is bonus to employee, bonus to Mr. A, bonus to Mrs. B, other expenses, salary to Mr. A, salary to Mr. B, interest on capital at 15% A and Mrs. B, depreciation, donations to National Relief Fund is 10,000, net profit, and here gross profit and interest on borrowings Mr. A and Mrs. B. Here the additional informations. That is depreciation for the year under section 32 is 20,000. Other expenses include expenditure of 5,400 which is disallowed under the section 40A class 2. Other personal income of Mr. A and Mrs. B is exempted income is exempted interest is 5,000, 20,000, and interest on loan is 2,45,000 and 2,22,000. First of all, let us calculate the income of association of person. Here the net income is 4,08,000. Some income, disallowed income have been debited in the P&L account. We have to remove from the net profit and P&L account, and some expenditure will be allowed that income that the expenditure is haven't added or haven't debited in the P&L account, so that we need to add back in the P&L account. We need to put in the P&L account, and we need to subtract from the net profit. Why we need to subtract from the allowable expenditures in the calculation? Because if you subtract some allowable expenditure from the net profit will be reduced from the current value. If it is reduced, we will be pay only lowest tax to the government. Some disallowed expenses have been debited in the P&L account already, that we need to add back to the P&L net profit. Add back to the net profit, because if you add back to the net profit, this net profit will be increased from the current value, so that we need to pay some highest amount to the government as a tax. That's the purpose. We need to calculate as per the income tax per act. Here, what are the expenses will not be allowable to the tax calculation? That is nothing but remunerations to the members. Here the remunerations to the members is bonus, salary, and interest on capitals. These are the expenses will be add back to the net profit. So let me put first one is salary to Mr. A and Mrs. B, so 44,000 and plus 88,000, that is 1,32,000. Let me put here. One lakh 32,000. And next one is bonus. Bonus to the members is 10,000 and 5,000. If you sum of these two, 15,000 will be add back to the net profit. And interest on capital is an excess of interest on drawings. That is, let me draw here. Mr. A, let us take Mr. A. Mr. The AOP have been paid to 15,000 Mr. A. Since the Mr. A is member of the AOP, taking some amounts as a drawings. That drawings accrue the income, that's way of interest. So the end of the year accrued interest have to paid by or have paid by Mr. A. That is have been paid by Mr. A is 16,000. If you sum 16,000 and 15,000, if you subtract from 16,000 minus 1,000 will be there. This 1,000 is as a income to the AOP, so that's no need to add back to the net profit. So no need to add back here. And the same way, let me calculate for Mrs. B. Mrs. B have received 20,000 as an interest from AOP and paid on withdrawal is 18,000, 8,000, sorry, 8,000. And if you subtract the 8,000 from 20,000, the disallowable expenses for the AOP is 12,000. These 12,000 will be here, 12,000. We need to add back to the net profit. And some other expenses, that is disallowed expenses here. Disallowed other expenses included expenditure of 5,400, which is disallowed under section 40A class 2. That is 5,400. 5,400 will not be allowable as a deduction or as expenses, sorry, as expenses. So we need to add back to the net profit. If you add back to the net profit will be increased. And depreciation, this depreciation is not allowed to debited in the P&L account because it is not as per the income tax purpose. It's not calculated as per the income tax purpose. So that we need to add back to the net profit, that is 30,000. And as per the income tax purpose, we may debit it in the P&L account only 20,000. So that we need to subtract 20,000 only from the net profit. 20,000. And donation will not be allowable as a deduction for the purpose of income tax in the P&L account because for the some national fund relief that has some exemption deductions in the not exemptions deduction in the chapter of 5 under section 80G, so that we need to subtract from, we need to add back to the net profit and subtract from deductions, so that we need to 10,000 we need to add back to the net profit. The same 10,000 we will be deductible under the chapter deduction under section 80G, that is 10,000. Now let us calculate the total income. First of all, let me add these all the expenses and put other column, that is 1,32,000, 15,000, 12,000, 5,400, 30,000, 10,000. That is 2,44,000 will be add back to the net profit. 2,04,400. Here the net profit is 4,08,000. If you add to the expenses, that is 4,08,000 plus 4,400, we will get 6,12,400. And from this amount we need to subtract the 12,000 as a depreciation. 12,000, sorry, 20,000, we need to subtract the 20,000 as a depreciation. If you subtract these two, and also we need to subtract the 10,000 as a deduction of national fund relief. If you subtract all the deductions and allowable expenses, we will get the total income of 5,82,400. Let us continue with the next calculation for the members, calculation of members to the income calculations to the members. Let us continue of the part 2. Thank you.